And so he was discouraged, but he talked to his brother about going up there too, and but they never did buy it. But it happened to be some guy did buy that and sold lots on that 32 acres and made a fortune on that island, you know. So that people were buying the lots and building their own cabins on that island. And he always brings that up to me, that we could have made a fortune in those days. And I had to go west and smoke jump.
Well, where did you start at smoke jumping?
Well, I stopped in Missoula. Fred Brauer was the head foreman out there at the base. It was raining at the time.
And this was the summer of 54 or 55?
This was the summer of 54,
okay.
But I didn't get there till July, mid-July. And of course, training was all over with. And Fred Brauer says, you know, we are not even jumping anybody. He says, it's the wettest summer we've seen in a long time. It's just a wet summer. He says, I'm not sure we're going to get any work around here for the guys we've got. We may have to lay some off. He says, why don't you go down to McCall? He says, it's drier down there and they're getting some fires. You might get on. Well, I said, okay. So I headed out and headed west, and happened to be a guy in the Air Force was hitchhiking, and I stopped to pick him up. He had his uniform still on, and I said, where are you headed? And he says, I'm going to Moscow, Idaho. I said, well, that's right on the way. I said, I'm going down to McCall. And he said, I asked him why he's going to Moscow. He said, well, I'm thinking of going to college there. And I said, well, he says, I've got the GI Bill. And I said, I guess I do too. So we both went and saw the dean of students there. And I thought seriously of going to at the University of Idaho. But then I got to thinking, if I go to college, I want to go to Missoula, because that's the place I want to be. So anyway, that's what took place.
Well, did you work
I went to McCall. And
did you jump out of McCall that summer?
I did.
Wow.
Well, I didn't jump. They were all done with training, but they hired me. They put me on. They didn't. They just says, let me check on your records, and they knew that I evidently had volunteered for Korea, so they figured, well, this guy we might be able to use him in this outfit. So
that was your first.
I didn't apply. I didn't have a years in the Forest Service or any requirements that were required in that time. The military was it that got me in, and but I did exercises with them in the morning and ate, and then they put me on with the surveying crew with the engineering department there. The Forest Service district office was right there in McCall.
So do you remember who the people were that were running the show there at McCall?
Yeah, Reed Jackson was the head man, the head foreman. Dale Kaplan was also there, and I can't think of the other guy's name that did the rigging. You'd know him. Yeah. His name is a legend, but I can't think of his name right now.
Well, so you worked there. That was your first exposure to the Forest Service. Then that fall, did you go to the university then? Is that what happened? In Missoula?
See, they gave me a week. This is a week before you start. And I said, well, I've got to run up to Missoula and check on the university and see if I get in. And so I did, and I crossed country up there by, where Powell is there in Idaho, and then you cross over to Superior. Well, here it was mid-July, and there were still snow drifts in the road, and the road crews were trying to get rid of the snow drifts. So I was lucky to get through that area, actually. But I got to Superior and then headed to the university there. And
so you got set up. You kind of knew what you wanted once you got out here.
Yeah.
And that was it.
So I was all signed up at the university because at that time, and then I headed back down through Idaho. I went and stopped at Sun Valley at Idaho, and realize I slept overnight near Mount Logan, you know where that is?
No.
It's I think it's the tallest peak in Idaho there, like 13,000 feet or something like that. And evidently my wallet had fallen out in the car. I was sleeping in the car, and I got to the gas station. I said, fill her up. And I reached back for my wallet. I couldn't find it. I had lost the thing. And so guy says, well, I had a few bucks in my pocket, and I said, put $5 in. And I said, where can I get a Western Union off? And he says, you got to go to Sun Valley. So I went over to, it was in Ketchum there, so I just a few miles away, and I went to Sun Valley and sent a wire to my folks, and they wired back some money to me. So from there I filled up and went down to McCall and started working down there. Before I left Montana, I stopped in Hamilton, and I saw the county engineer, and I said, can you tune me up a little better on the new units now with surveying? And he talked to me about, the situation on the surveying and marking that, because it was going to be Forest Service roads that we were putting lines through for.
That's a good
The
idea.
surveying crew. So, and he gave me some information. Then I stopped at Sun Valley and saw the engineer there. He says, well, now everything's inverted. He says, you're used to everything being right side up. He says, everything's upside down now. He says, I'll tell you what. He says, my wife and I haven't been out to a movie because we've had a little child here and we've been stuck at home. He taught skiing at Sun Valley in the wintertime, and he was county engineer or survey engineer in the summertime there. And he says, I'll let you work with my unit in the morning. I'll teach you everything about this new unit here. So I was up to date by the time I got to McCall.
That's cool.
Everything, pretty much.
Yeah,
so,
that's cool. That's really cool.
And that's how it took place there.
So you finished there at McCall, you went back to the university, and then...
The next summer.
And did you make any decisions about what you were going to study at school early, or was that later in your university education?
No, I started right away in the fall.
But what did you decide you were going to do?
Well,
what kind of degree or what?
I didn't know, actually. I hadn't even thought much about college, even in the service, we were busy in there. And so I had to do some thinking here, and they said, well, you can take a general course anyway the first 2 years and make a decision from there. And I thought, well, I'm not that good at math or geometry or any of the heavy stuff, so I thought I better stay in something that I can do pretty well. And I enjoyed history and the social study end of it. And of course, I was in sports in high school, and when I was in the service, I was out for the ship's football team. And so I knew a little bit about sports, and I thought, well, maybe I better major in PE. And I thought maybe I could get through that one. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. I had enough credits in history and social studies to have a major there too. So
that's great.
So I had to get a teaching
from University of Montana.
Yeah.
So okay, now back to Smokejumping. So you show up, at McCall, I take it in '55.
Yeah.
And they took your training then.
Yeah.
Do you remember how many people were in your new person class or new man class? Was it big or small or?
It wasn't real big, because a lot of those guys kept coming back all the time, and Ray Beasley was there.
Was he new with you or?
No, Ray started a couple years, 53, I think Ray was there, and so it was a year before I got there, when I got to know Ray, and Paper Lakes Peterson, Max Allen, and a host of guys.
Was Shep Johnson up there by then?
He had just quit. Reed Jackson came in and took over his place, but he was around there. But it was Reed Jackson and Del Catlin ran the show, and this other fellow, I can't think of his name. I'm sorry, because it's just left me. I'll know it, because when Eisenhower came up and dedicated the base at Missoula in 1954, I was going to school at the time, and I went out to watch him. And this McCall fellow gave Eisenhower a Smokejumper hat with the face mask and everything on it at the time there.
Well, were there a lot of World War II GIs still in the jumpers when you got there?
Oh yeah, World War II, yeah. Most of them, all the overhead was World War II.
Yeah.
At the time, when I was there. So.
Well, what was the training like at McCall?